Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Reverend Connie Simon. Our urban community welcomes all with love, supports learning and spiritual growth, serves our wider community, and works for justice, equity, and inclusion. We're glad you're here this morning.
Every week, we light the chalice as a symbol of our faith. I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. Edward Everett Hale.
I'm Lisa Davis Roberts, and a member of the Carter Social Justice Committee, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share with you a bit about my racial equity journey. I am fortunate to work at an organization that has staked our mission as building community will for racial equity, so my personal and professional journey are completely entwined. And I have found that the most helpful part of my journey has been the opportunity to listen and talk with others, as we are today, where topics such as unconscious bias, tone policing, cultural appropriation, and white supremacy culture are explored. These are concepts I hardly considered up until a few years ago. All I know now is that I need and want to step carefully, recognizing that white supremacy is the air that I've grown up breathing, invisible, and has fed every cell in my body. To further my own journey towards being anti-racist, I need to keep reflecting on so many, if not all of my assumptions and my instincts. And as I consider these, there are three concepts that really jump to the surface that I think about when I'm thinking about my journey, and they are these. First, we live in a white supremacy culture. Second, there's no such thing as non-racist. And third, intent and impact are two often diametrically opposed concepts. And at the end of the day, one matters far more than the other.
Ordinary Mary's Extraordinary Deed by Emily Pearson, illustrated by Fumi Kosaka. Ordinary Mary was so very ordinary that you'd never guess she could change the world. This ordinary kid? She did. She changed the world. One ordinary day, skipping on her way from her ordinary school to her ordinary house, she passed an ordinary vacant lot filled with ordinary bushes growing ordinary berries. Ordinary blue and juicy, luscious, lovely berries. Well, Ordinary Mary picked the ordinary berries and brought them in a big brown bowl to Mrs. Bishop's porch. What? Left berries in a big brown bowl on Mrs. Bishop's porch? That sneaky kid. She did. This made Mrs. Bishop very happy. So she baked a big batch of blueberry muffins and thought of 5 people who might have brought those beautiful berries. Then secretly gave each a plate. How great! 5 people got a plate. One of those 5 was her paper boy, Billy Parker. And when Billy saw his name on a note in the driveway on a plate, he quickly parked his bike and ate every crumb. Oh, yum, yum, yum! He ate every crumb. This made him so glad that the next 5 people got their papers on the porch and not in the bushes, where he often threw them. In fact, they were handed right to them. One of those 5 was Mr. Morey, who was so amazed that he smiled for 10 hours on the airplane, then said to 5 different people who had heavy bags, "Here, let me help you." He still smiled, and they did too. One of those 5 people was Mario, whose cranky little boy James stopped crying when Mr. Mori played peekaboo with him until their ride came. When he waved goodbye, Mario exclaimed, "How strange that a stranger would be so kind." And the next day, when he was out shopping, once, twice, 5 times he did something nice for 5 different people. 5 times, without stopping. One of those 5 was Joseph, old and bent and gray, in front of him in line at the produce stand. When he said, "I guess I counted wrong. I don't really need these oranges," little James reached out to him with an orange from their basket, and Mario put a coin in Joseph's hand and said, "Here, take this. The oranges are on us." As Joseph shuffled to the bus, his heart was full and his eyes were wet, and his hands did helpful things for the next 5 people he met. One of those 5 was Sarah, a college girl who was off to see the world and stopped at Joseph's shop. When her bag broke and her things fell all over the floor, she said, "Oh, what will I do?" Joseph said, "This is for you." And he gave her a new bag woven with his own hands in red and purple and green. "Oh, thank you," she said. "It's the loveliest bag I've ever seen." When Sarah left, she felt sunny as noon, and she just had to shine on 5 people soon. One of those 5 was Sophia, whom she met on a boat looking like the world might end, looking like someone without a friend. "What beautiful blue eyes you have," Sarah said, "and they're just the color of the flowers in your lovely dress." "Yes?" said Sophia. "Oh, yes," said Sarah. The beautiful blue eyes shed a happy tear, and when the boat trip was through, Sophia called 5 people to make them happy too. One of those 5 was Tom, her son the doctor, who was having a very hard day. "Hi," she said. "I love you, Tom." "Well, how great to hear your voice," he sighed. "I always need my mom." Dr. Tom was so cheered up that on his next break, he bought a big bunch of bright balloons for 5 young patients, and he handed them out right then and there. One of those 5 was Peter, a little boy who went home from the hospital that very day. Gratitude for the big bunch of bright balloons filled him and thrilled him and spilled out of him onto the next 5 people who came his way. One of those 5 was Eric, a teenage boy whose sacks and such were way too much. When one dropped on the sidewalk, Peter stopped his play and rushed right over, saying, "Super Wheels to the rescue!" Well, Eric, no longer stressed, was very impressed and made a mental note that very afternoon to help 5 people and do it soon. One of those 5 was Di, his 10-year-old sister, who didn't have many friends and was painfully shy. When Eric said, "Hey sis, want to come to the park and learn how to ride my skateboard?" she looked at him wide-eyed. "Seriously?" she cried. "Sure," he said. And because of her brother, Di decided maybe she could be a friend to another 5 others. One of those 5 was Louise, a homeless woman who lived under the trees. She could hardly believe her ears when she heard Di say, "May my brother and I buy you a hot dog and a drink at that stand over there?" Could it be true? Someone actually cared? Cared enough to give her food and a smiley-faced ring that was practically new? Louise was so pleased that she decided that even though she had nothing, she would find 5 others and give them something. One of those 5 was Amara, who lost her wallet in the park. Louise found it full of 5s and 10s and 20s. Oh, what she could do with all that money! But she found Amara's name and called her home, and over she came. Amara was so impressed that Louise was honest when money was something she clearly needed, that she offered her a job in her store and vowed to do something generous for 5 people or more. One of those 5 was Kate, a woman on vacation who wanted to see a show she'd heard was a sensation. "Oh no," she said, "it's sold out." "But I'm going home tomorrow," and her face filled with sorrow. Amara held out her ticket. "I live here," she said. "I can go any time. Take mine." Kate loved the show and was so touched that she thought buying 5 presents for 5 people back home would really be fun. And one of those 5 presents was a little heart necklace for Mary, her niece. And you should have seen her eyes light up in surprise. Mary? What? Ordinary Mary? Yes, Ordinary Mary's extraordinary deed had come full circle, and on its way it had changed the lives of every person living. You see, when Mrs. Bishop made muffins from Mary's blueberries, not only the paperboy, Billy Parker, but the 4 other people, too, made 5 people smile, and those 5 did, too. And after a while, in only 16 days, love was sent to every person everywhere. Just see how it went. Whoops. 1, 5, 25, 125, 625, 3,125, 15,625, 78,125, 390,625, 1,953,125, 9,765,625, 48,828,125, 244,140,625, 1,220,703,125, 6,103,515,625, 30,517,578,125. Well, 30 billion is way more than all of the people on the planet. So after everyone had a share and everyone knew that somebody cared, there was even love left over. The world was changed, and thousands and millions and billions agreed. It was all because one ordinary day, Ordinary Mary did a perfectly ordinary, stunningly earth-shaking, totally extraordinary deed. I wonder, what small act of kindness can you do this week that might spread kindness around the world? This is the time in our service where we honor the joys and sorrows in our community and in the world at large. We come together today mourning the death of Daunte Wright, holding our minister, Reverend Connie Simon, in our hearts and in our minds as she mourns the passing of her beloved brother-in-law, and thinking about our dear member, Mary Mark, who will be undergoing invasive surgery this week to remove oral cancer. And still, there is joy. The flowers today are dedicated by Mary Mark, who says, "These are for the hope and message of spring in the remains of winter debris." We celebrate the coming of spring with you, Mary, as well as all the little joys that see us through, the child's first giggle, that next breath of fresh air. And we honor birthdays. Those turning 75 plus this month are Ann Bowers, Pete Rizzo, and Walter Varland. Our prayer today is by Reverend Darcy Roach. There is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There is too much injustice in this world to not right the balance every day. There is too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of divine presence every day.
Good morning. My name is Kim Clokey, and I'm the Communications Coordinator for the Social Justice Committee. I struggled a bit with describing my personal journey with social justice. It started basically 39 years ago with parents who taught me to stand up and fight for what I believe in, and it's gone in many directions since then. So instead of trying to condense everything down, I'd like to share this reading because it really sums up my personal activism over the past few years. The reading is called Harnessing Our Anger. It's written by Glennon Doyle. There is nothing wrong with you because you are angry. Anger is a normal human instructional emotion, just like joy. It's just that we, as women, just like every marginalized group, are trained to be ashamed of our anger. It's important for every single marginalized group to be told over and over again that if they're angry, that means there's something wrong with them. Why would power structures want marginalized groups to believe that their anger is something to be ashamed of? Because people who do not struggle with their anger, but instead embrace their anger and harness their anger, are people who demand change. People who have changed the world were people who were pissed off and who stopped trying to manage their anger or fix their anger or struggle with their anger, and instead embraced their anger, harnessed their anger with other angry people, and unleashed it in creative ways to make change. What if, instead of struggling with our anger, we consider that when we feel angry inside, maybe it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with us. Maybe it means there's something wrong. Not wrong with us, wrong out there, something that we might be able to change. Women, from time immemorial, have been gaslit by the entire world. Every time we felt angry, someone told us we're crazy. The truth is that angry women are not broken. We are just some of the only people who are responding appropriately to a broken world. Most of my activism in the world is done because I have trusted my anger. Thank you.
Giving to First Church is easy. Text GIVE to 513-717-7373, or if you have access to our Breeze member system, click Give Now. You can also give online at firstuu.com, or you can mail your check to 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio 45219. If this is your first time visiting us, we invite you to let the virtual plate pass you by. Your presence is your gift to us. Our offering will now be gratefully received.
We remember and honor Reverend W.H.G. and Mrs. Beulah Carter for many reasons. We honor Reverend Carter for leading a racially integrated march of citizens to the courthouse and City Hall in Cincinnati at the height of the Great Depression that successfully challenged city and county officials to find money to provide food, clothing, and coal for its desperate citizens. We honor Mrs. Carter for cooking 6,500 meals for her hungry neighbors at the height of the Great Depression. She fed 30 to 50 people a day over a 5-month period. We honor Reverend Carter for finding the resources to obtain that food, an example of his energy and enterprising spirit throughout his life that fed, clothed, and housed his 14 children and countless others of his neighbors. We honor Mrs. Carter for her warmth and loving spirit that is a hallowed memory among her many descendants. She gave that nurturing love to her 14 children and to so many other people during her life. We honor Reverend Carter for being a candidate for Cincinnati City Council 4 times because of his desire to ensure that Black people in the city would have a clear and honest voice in city government at a time when the dominant political parties only allowed token Black representation. We honor Reverend Carter because his story reminds us of the complexities of race in America. His great-grandmother, Elizabeth Gray, was a Black woman enslaved and then freed by the white Virginia landowner and politician Henry A. Wise, who was Reverend Carter's great-grandfather. As governor of Virginia, Henry Wise presided over the hanging of the abolitionist John Brown after the raid on Harper's Ferry. That raid and Brown's execution helped hasten the Civil War and gave enslaved people a chance to seize their freedom. William Henry Gray, the son of Henry Wise and Elizabeth Gray, acted as his father's assistant when his father served in the U.S. House of Representatives before the Civil War. After the war, William Henry Gray, Reverend Carter's grandfather and namesake, served in the Arkansas State Legislature and seconded the nomination of Ulysses S. Grant for president in 1872 before Reconstruction was overthrown by white supremacist violence across the South. This reminds us of both the complexities. This reminds us of the promise of Reconstruction for a multiracial democracy and of the failure of white Americans, both North and South, to keep that promise. We remember Reverend Carter's parents, Nancy Gray Carter and James Carter, who, despite living in the Jim Crow South, became educators and raised their thoughtful, independent, and freedom-loving son. We honor Reverend Carter for earning a Doctor of Divinity degree from Shorter College in Arkansas, where his father was dean and a minister, and his mother was the dormitory matron. We honor Reverend Carter for his thoughtful and independent study of theology while in seminary, and afterwards that led him to Unitarianism. We honor Reverend Carter for founding the Church of the Unitarian Brotherhood in Cincinnati's largely Black West End neighborhood in 1918, and using it as a platform to preach the good news of Unitarianism to his neighbors and as a place to care for them in times of need. We honor Mrs. Carter for her ministry through her own congregation, in which the feeding, clothing, and housing of her neighbors was a central part of her Christian witness. We honor Reverend and Mrs. Carter for what they might have brought to Unitarian Universalism and First Unitarian Church if our forebearers had not shunned them and instead overcome their racism and classism to learn from them and embrace what they and their congregants and neighbors could have taught them. We honor Reverend and Mrs. Carter for what they may still bring to Unitarian Universalism and First Unitarian Church if we can overcome our racism and classism to listen to what Reverend and Mrs. Carter and their congregants and neighbors can still teach us. We remember and honor their grandson, Leslie Edwards, for having helped us to learn what his grandparents could teach us. Leslie was a longtime member of the UU gathering at Northern Hills and a friend of our congregation. His grandparents are buried in the cemetery that coincidentally lies next to the Northern Hills Church. We remember and honor Andrew Carter, one of Reverend and Mrs. Carter's last surviving sons, who joined First Unitarian Church towards the end of his life. He helped bring his parents' gift of the Spirit to us. We honor the living descendants of Reverend and Mrs. Carter for giving us the opportunity in 2000 to seek reconciliation with them over our racist and classist treatment of their foremother and forefather. We honor Dr. Starita Smith, Reverend and Mrs. Carter's great-granddaughter, who has become a friend of our congregation. Dr. Smith so generously accepted our apology to her family 21 years ago for our treatment of Reverend and Mrs. Carter, while also reminding us that racial reconciliation, true racial reconciliation, requires commitment. Speaking at the culmination of our reconciliation weekend, where we offered that apology, she challenged, "I hope you will reflect on this weekend often and let it galvanize you. I hope that it will cause you to go beyond the comfortable friendships that you have with your Black Unitarian friends and attempt to bring honesty and light and compassion into the thorny areas of race relations beyond the boundaries of your church." We remember and honor Reverend W.H.G. and Mrs. Beulah Carter for many reasons. For the courage that gave them the strength and vision to do much good in this world, courage that surely flowed through them from their ancestors. And we remember and honor them because they remind us of what we as individuals and Unitarian Universalists might have become and still might yet achieve as we embrace their legacy.
Hi, my name is Karen Rohr, and I'm the chair of the Carter Social Justice Committee for First Unitarian Church. We have added the name Carter to our committee in order to honor the values that WGH and Beulah Carter represent. There have been a lot of changes to our committee over the last year and a half, and I want to tell you about them. First, there are 7 members of our committee now. I'm very glad to say, because we've just filled the last post. There's, of course, myself, the leaders of the 3 focus areas, Tom Rohr for the Shiloh Food Pantry, Lee Ramstadt for South Avondale Elementary, and Beth McDaniel for IHN. Kim Clokey's in charge of communication, and she's been sending out those wonderful monthly newsletters. Debbie Davidson researches what's going on in Cincinnati and lets us know what we can participate in, what things we can serve, and what's going on. And that's done on a weekly basis. Finally, we have added Lisa Davis Roberts to our committee. She is employed by the Greater Cincinnati Foundation and is in a unique position to let us know which organizations would benefit most from our contributions or from a special plate. You will hear from all of them through this service. So how do we decide which organizations would benefit from our support? The first thing we do is we ask you. Over the years, you guys have let us know about wonderful organizations that we were never aware of. One of them is HELP, and you'll hear from them in June. They support returnees. We are a better and stronger committee because of the input that you give us. We meet the 3rd Saturday of every month at 9 in the morning. If you want to listen in, just send me a message. I'll send you the Zoom link. If there's something that you really want to talk about to the committee, let me know. Just send me a brief synopsis of what you want to talk about, and I'll get you on the agenda. We need you, and we are happy to have you participate. So that's our social justice committee. But what is social justice? Part of social justice is helping individuals, fighting poverty, hunger, and homelessness. And I think we can be proud of the way we have served our community in this way. But there's another part of social justice, working to change the causes of systemic racism. So how are we doing with that?
Good morning. My name is Tom Rohr, and I'm a member of the Social Justice Committee here at First Unitarian Church. I'd like to tell you why the Shiloh Food Pantry is one of the 3 focus areas for the social justice outreach. First, the pantry is in Avondale, which is our congregational home. Second, the pantry was founded by an Avondale community organization in response to community needs. Additionally, the pantry provides First Church members an opportunity to have a truly significant social justice impact by our financial support and by our volunteering. I became a First Unitarian late in life because I was attracted to the simplicity of a religion based on 7 easily understood principles. The 2 that made the most profound impact on me were the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, and justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. There are a few places we can volunteer that would enable us to live those 2 principles more than at a food pantry. Getting folks food in need while helping them retain their dignity and treating them with respect is a high priority. Volunteering at a pantry requires empathy, not sympathy. We need to ask ourselves, how would I want to be treated if I were the one needing help? With dignity and respect is the answer shared by all of the volunteers at the Post Pantry. Since moving to our new building in 2015, pantry operations had expanded significantly. We now serve well over 1,000 families and distribute more than 400,000 pounds of food each year. This ranks us as one of the top 10 food pantries out of 250 in Hamilton County. In addition, we are one of the few pantries that are opened more than once a month. Separately, most food pantries restrict their clients to separate zip codes. We open our pantry to clients from any area, and we have folks come to us for food assistance from Cincinnati and even from Northern Kentucky. The pantry purchases food from the Free Store Food Bank, but has also developed partnerships with a number of large food processors over the years. They donate food to us, and these donations include things like frozen meats, individual meals, meatballs, and other items. As a result of these partnerships, we've been able to share significant quantities of food with other food pantries and even with organizations like IHN. Through our annual special plate collection and individual contributions, we now provide about 30% of the budget for the pantry. In addition, First Church volunteers make up a significant portion of the volunteer staff. Our social justice partnership with Shiloh Pantry has had and continues to have a significant visible impact in our Avondale community. If you would like to volunteer at the pantry, please take note of the Sign Up Genius app on our discussion listserv each month. Thanks for listening.
Hi, it's Leave again. I have a question for you. What could be better and more joyful, more fun maybe, than a 5 or 6-year-old child? Oh, no, wait. I want to change that. What could be more joyful and fun than a 5-year or 6-year-old child that is happy to see you and runs across the classroom to greet you? Oh, wait. We're Unitarians. Let's add one more thing to that. What could be more fun, more joyful, better than a 5 or 6 year old child who's happy to see you, runs across the classroom to greet you, and then can't wait to see what books you've chosen to read together? Well, that's part of what we do when we tutor at South Avondale Elementary, and that's one of the main reasons people who volunteer keep volunteering year after year after year. We go in there weekly. Each tutor is assigned one child. They work with that child all year long. They get a relationship. And personally, I think that's what we as members get most out of this, is that very special relationship. We have a lesson plan designed by a reading specialist. We sing songs, we read books, they do workshops designed just, to help them. Maybe we do a kinesthetic type activity every time, and and of course the snack. We also have another project that we do at South Avondale, and I think most of you have actually participated in it, and that's the Love My Books free bookstore. You have given books, bought books, given money, helped sort books, move books, asked your neighbors for books. It's just been rather sensational. And as you know, we set out the books, and the children, all children in the school, get to take home 1 or 2 books to keep, to add, so they can start building their own library. And we thank Gladys Warren for that fantastic idea. Well, wait, there is one more thing to that tutoring scenario I was giving you that's even better than the things I mentioned. And that is the day that you go to read books together and your student reads to you. Well, that's what we do at South Avondale. Bye.
Hi, my name is Beth McDaniel, and I've been helping to coordinate IHN at First Church. Supporting the Interfaith Hospitality Network of Greater Cincinnati is one of the Carter Social Justice Committee's core projects. If you're not familiar with IHN's mission is to provide homeless families with emergency shelter and hospitality through interfaith communities, and to work with families to find and retain stable housing. Since 2006, First Church has been part of a network of congregations that open our buildings to provide food, shelter, safety, and hospitality to local families experiencing homelessness. We typically partner with 4 other congregations and provide families with shelter at First Church during 5 hosting weeks each year. So there are many ways you can get involved in this work. For instance, number 1, you could take some time to learn about homelessness. Google Greater Cincinnati Homeless Coalition. They're a great source of information about what drives homelessness and how you can take action to make a difference in our community. For example, if you go to their website right now, you'll find information about Issue 3, which is on the May 4th primary ballot. Issue 3 would dedicate $50 million to affordable housing each year, which is critically needed. Early voting is happening now, or be sure to vote in person on May 4th if you're able. Also, while we tend to focus our activities on our 5 hosting weeks, IHN operates year-round. So you can drop off donations, send contributions, or volunteer anytime. Just remember to let them know you're a member of First Church so they can track our congregation's involvement. Right now, IHN is especially in need of gift cards for places like Kroger, Target, Walmart, etc. They also need cleaning and sanitizing products or non-perishable food items. Drop-off is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., Monday through Friday at their offices at 990 Nassau Street. So you don't have to wait for a hosting week. If there's something that you want to contribute, feel free to do that anytime. Right now, families are in extended stay hotel accommodations, so another idea would be to put together an activity or craft kit to help families and kids especially pass the time. Another new way you can volunteer is you can take a little adventure and help prep crock-pot meals for IHN families at Tickon Farms. You can go to the Tickon Farms website, then go to events, Volunteer Days and then click Nourishing Families, and you'll find the Sign Up Genius. Alternately, you can email me at mcdaniel.elizabeth@gmail.com and I can help you get signed up. Eventually, we'll be back to in-person hosting, and actually each week we host, it takes about 60 volunteers. So please consider volunteering once we're back to hosting families at First Church in person. We need people to clean and prep the rooms where IHN families stay, to make and share dinner with families each evening, to provide evening activities and entertainment, and to stay overnight to ensure families have everything they need. I'm going to leave you with a quote, which we're all familiar with. I think it's been attributed to Mother Teresa, although I'm not sure she actually said it. Not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. And IHN offers us all many opportunities to do small things with great love for families experiencing homelessness here in Greater Cincinnati. Thanks so much.
I would like to end this Carter Sunday with a quote from the first Carter Sunday in 2001. Storita Smith, the great-granddaughter of W.H.G. and Beulah Carter, came up to the podium and said, "We must acknowledge that racial reconciliation, true racial reconciliation, requires commitment. I hope you will reflect on this weekend often and let it galvanize you. I hope that it will cause you to go beyond friendships you have with your Black Unitarian friends to attempt to bring honesty, light, and compassion into the thorny arena of race relations, beyond the boundaries of your church. Since 2001, in addition to the countless hours we have volunteered, the Carter Fund has distributed more than $80,000 to our community. We appreciate your continued support."
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. I leave you with these words of benediction by D. Scott Cooper. The world aches for us to join together and bring about healing, toil for justice, and produce ever-increasing love. This is our calling. Go forth and act accordingly. Amen.
Hi, this is Meredith Plummer, your Director of Lifespan Faith Development, with a few announcements for the weeks ahead. To begin, this Friday, April 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m., the Lady Joya Band will be playing in our church parking lot. No registration is required for this event. Just bring your own food, drinks, lawn chairs, and masks. The following night, on Saturday, April 24th, we're going to be holding a virtual game night. Again, no registration is required for this event. Connectivity information should be in your inbox. If you are new or a visitor, please make sure to email membercare@firstuu.com for connectivity information. To participate in this game night, you'll need both one device to connect to Zoom and another device to connect to the game. Then on Friday, April 30th, from 7 to 7:30 p.m., Dave and Shelley Wallace are going to give a TED Talk about how we can care for our Earth. This event will also be hosted over Zoom. Registration is required, so please check your inbox for registration information, or email membercare@firstuu.com to see how you can register for this event. Connectivity information will be sent the morning of. Then, on Friday, May 7th, we'll be kicking off our 3-week book discussion of Breathe, A Letter to My Sons by Amani Perry. This book is the UUA's Common Read for 2021. We'll be offering 2 opportunities each Friday to discuss this book, one from 10:30 a.m. to noon, and another from 7 to 8:30 p.m. This discussion will take place over Zoom, and registration is required. Please check your inbox for registration information, or email membercare@firstuu.com to find out how you can register. Connectivity information will be sent the morning of this event. Finally, this summer, we're going to be offering an in-person, socially distanced, outdoor faith development program for children and youth that's focused on rebuilding community. We're calling this program Castaway Cove. It will take place over various Saturdays and Sundays this summer in our churchyard and parking lot. We're asking anyone who's going to be fully vaccinated this summer to consider being an assistant for one of these classes. Parents should be on the lookout for more information about this program coming to their mailbox soon. And that's all I have for you. Have a wonderful week.